Cory,
Mm-hmm.
AI, agentic, LLMs for PPC. You've been using them for a while because you are an absolute
Madman.
madman. I was going to say nerd, but I needed something that was actually like something more powerful than that word. But
Madman
you are a
nerd.
madman with this.
Yeah.
And you've also been privy and seen what other people online have been talking about with it.
Yep.
Do you feel the market is being misdirected at the moment with what's being taught in
Oh,
terms
I
of
mean, I think the
AI?
market's always being misdirected. That's just a
Yeah.
part of the economy. But,
Yeah.
that's tinfoil hat off. I mean, I do think there is mostly positives to come with this. Maybe I'll eat my words in several years. I know people specific to the online marketing sphere or industry are continually worried as developments have come, right? We have the Salesforce getting rid of a large amount of staff, Google, Alphabet getting rid of a large amount of staff, Meta as well. And these are in the marketing departments in particular, as well as some other sides. I use it for you name it. I mean, like you said, it's not just like the LLM side. I use it inside of an IDE. So when I'm actually working with a programming language, I like to have it as an assistant, right? I don't want to be manually typing out every line of code. There are going to be things that I like to utilize for that. I like to utilize it for even just brainstorming, right? If we just want to kind of get my thoughts out there and into an unbiased sort of knowing full well that it is essentially taking what's hot on the internet or what's trended the most. And I also have to check the sources, but just kind of talking through something that's on my mind, some kind of creative idea that I have, and kind of being able to force it to poke holes in my logic. I really like using it for things like that. So it's not even just that I use it for the technical side. I like to use it even just for brain stimulation to kind of work through problems. So we could get into some of the more nerdy, specific, very technical stuff, but to keep it high level, those are the things I tend to use it for. What about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I'm still using it on the basic level. I'm still relying too much on human IP, and that's
Sure.
part of the movement towards building our own. As one of my mates said to me last night, SLM. So instead of large language model, it's small language model, as in small, as in just your niche knowledge around that area. So it's not referencing more than just that. Taking your direct IP and then just plugging that in and
Yep.
having a operator essentially who is Michael Nadalin. So I'm just downloading all of Michael Nadalin into that
Yeah.
based on how I think and how I operate, not having Michael Nadalin and then with Cory Lindholm and this, it's actually just Michael Nadalin, and then building out different boardroom members who then will talk to each other. So there's Michael Nadalin, they're like maybe a CFO, a CMO, and then getting them. So working on building the Michael Nadalin out. I've been building out a personal one for ages, like
Yeah.
based on just conversations, but I don't think that my personal one should also be the CEO one. It'd be too
No.
wild and crazy.
Imagine the hallucinations. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one is currently building out just like one based on my decision making models, and because I actually respect my decision making models, I feel like I think quite clearly and critically, use a lot of critical thinking, but also from direct experience as well. So literally anytime a team member or client comes to me with a problem of being it with advertising, lead generation, e-commerce, or business, I do have an answer. And it's not just like, oh, because this person said it. It's because, oh, we've done this with a client before and they saw that result. So it's downloading all my direct experience into the SLM. So then that's actually an asset for myself, because one thing I've done recently is put all of our SOPs into just like a checklist. Because like when we do landing pages, there's like 60 things we need to do. How the hell are you going to remember 60 things every time? And that was a big risk, is that we knew it, but then we'd just forget one thing. So the goal is now is to download the minds of the direct experience people into an LLM so things are not missed anymore.
Right.
It's not that things like we need the right answer, it's just we need the right answer on 30 things at once, not 25 out of 30. So
Absolutely.
that's how we're working. It's more the decision-making models rather than the actual technical implementations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you guys are going down the right route. I mean, that is where the industry is going in terms of AI, in terms of LLMs. It's going to be more customized, more niche. to whatever your industry is, whatever it is you're working on, whatever your project is. Obviously, there's going to be a limiting data factor, right? You only have so much internal data or processes or whatever, and you still have to maintain these systems. That is going to be one of the tougher challenges coming up in the future, is how do we maintain these systems? How do we monitor for hallucinations? What are we doing to fight against those hallucinations? Because we haven't solved that problem, and they're not even close as far as what I'm hearing in the news and seeing from these AI companies. So it's going to be new challenges, but this is how you progress, right? This is how you progress in any kind of technical field. You need to stay up on the tech. You don't want to just ignore the tech and fight against it, because I'm sure you hear this. There's this other side of people in the marketing sphere that are totally just like, you know what, this is going to replace us, or it's just total crap, and they're just ignoring it, and they're not even utilizing it within their systems. And they're missing out. This is a great technology. It's one of the biggest technological booms we've seen in a really long time. Could it be a bubble? Yeah. A lot of my software engineering friends, they think we're in an AI bubble. You know, it's not going to last as long as people think. There's going to be a sort of moment of catastrophe, whatever. I tend to be a little bit more optimistic about it. I see that this is going to help us do more monotonous things, more tedious things a lot more quickly and more accurately. I know that it's going to replace a lot of people doing those, maybe like call them lower level or whatever kind of jobs. At the end of the day, we all need to try to find a way to progress in our careers and in our skill sets. And if we can offload some of the more tedious stuff to focus on the more creative and strategic side of things, I think that is going to create more innovation in the industry and in the world in general. So I'm fairly optimistic about it, even though I know it is going to cost. There's going to be some sacrifice along the way, but that's innovation, that's progress. We've always had that, industrial age and before. So yeah.
The underlying, and this is just like using critical thinking, is the AI or the LLMs, where are they sourcing their knowledge from? Mm-hmm. Now, for things like very simple things like code, it will just be like, it either works or it doesn't. Now, it could be like inefficient code, but like code breaks. But for some reason, AI keeps spitting out code that doesn't work, even though it has all the textbooks and models and everything about it. That's on something that's very linear. A lot of things like marketing, life, other things that you're asking questions are non-linear. They're creative. Mm-hmm. So the challenge is, that's one level. It's like there's hallucinations and errors in things that are extremely logical. Now, when you're going something to non-logical, being it finance, marketing, finance is not a logical thing. It's emotional. People buy with fear and greed. That is the basics of like investment, is greed and fear. Mm-hmm. So I continually think also, where's the source of the information from? Most content on the internet is written by content creators or content creators. They're not textbooks, they're content creators. And the most up-to-date things are people spitting out content. But we were discussing at the start, the people who have the time to spit out content don't have enough time to actually do the damn thing. A very specialized field isn't just like you do it for like 6 hours a week and then you do content. It's like it requires full time, like 12, 15, 16 hours a day for years on end. And you're trying to get this edge. And I just think to the AI, it will be good or great at best, but not excellent. I think where like outstanding above excellence is, or like good or great, but like becoming excellent will come from someone who has the direct experience of knowing what excellent looks like and constantly guiding. It's like you've got all these people who've graduated from the best college in the world. They're the smartest as financiers, and you just put them into an office. They're not going to make the business successful. They still need a manager to be like, use your brain in this direction, do this task, do this thing. Like, you just can't have the most intelligent people or beings or AI just plugged in and then just go hands off. You've got to guide it. You've got to give it the outcome. Every business is different. Every outcome, like every ad account's different. So you can't just go plug it in, write ad copy, all this shit, or like, give me a business analysis, because it's like, well, what are your outcomes? Oh, you tell me what my outcome should be. What are the businesses? It's like people are delegating and outsourcing too much of the thinking responsibility.
Right.
And I've got this model that works really well in my head. I call it the 10-80-10 rule, which is the first 10% and the last 10% are the most important, which is the leader is setting a very clear direction of what the outcome looks like. The next 80% is the delegation to a team member or an AI. And that's where a lot of people end. The last 10% is actually the quality checking. Hey, is this actually correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I've recognized that most people, most marketing experts fail at the last 10% because that only comes from direct experience of what knowing excellent is actually look like what it is, like what, based on your own direct experience of what results have done it. So the AI, I think it will replace that 80% of delegation work of like getting someone else to do it, but it won't replace the guidance at the start and the quality checking at the end. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you've got to remain an expert, because there are going to be so many people doing the first 10%, the next 80%, and then fail at that last 10% of quality checking or know what excellent is. Not it looks like, it is.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, right? Because I could see it getting to a point where it picks up enough patterns to figure out Pareto's principle wise 80% of that first 10%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of percentage guys, sorry about that. Throwing numbers around, probably confusing people, but really, at what point can it start to innovate ideas proactively, right? Can it start getting a little more proactive to say, you know what, I'm seeing this automatically with the data. You've told me these things are important. You've told me these are your objectives. It's kind of what smart bidding does to some degree, right? You've already given it a goal. It's looking at all this stuff all the time, or so they say. It's, so we've got those two things, but it's not great at proactive suggestions. This is the recommendations that we see in Google Ads. And obviously, one inherent issue is that it's trying to handle that first 10% you're talking about, but they tend to be so biased towards feeding the Google machine. Use broad match. Don't worry about negative keywords. It'll figure itself out. To increase all your bids because you're missing out on impression share. Is it valuable impression share? Well, we're not going to ask that question, right? Just increase it because you need visibility. It's not right now that 10% is trying to be automated, but every company is going to have inherent bias into that first 10%, which is why we need to get into, like you're saying, as agency owners or even as business owners, we need to get into the more SLM, right? The stuff that is customized for us. It is biased towards our results. It's going to use our data. The tricky thing also is not to open another can of worms, but how do we integrate external sources without that totally messing up everything we've built in our internal systems? A whole other conversation. But I agree. I think most of that 80% is pretty much where it is right now, though I am interested to see where it goes once it becomes that first 10% becomes a little less biased. And then the last 10% is probably going to be the hardest thing to get an AI or an autonomous being, if you will, if you want to get real existential. Is it going to be able to handle that? I mean, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. You're going to need a human to steer this thought machine, if you will. At the end of the day, it's all code. So someone has to write the code, someone has to maintain the code. I know that right now there's some stuff about AI rewriting its own code so that it doesn't get turned off. There's a lot of interesting things happening there. At the end of the day, we built it. Doesn't mean that it will always be here, but maybe it'll be here when we're gone. Not to get too conspiratorial, but we do need to keep the wheel. We're the ones driving. We put the gas down. We hit the brakes. We don't really want these fully autonomous cars when we're talking about marketing and marketing data, because this is very sensitive data. And going back to your point, this is investing. This is really at the end of it. And we're talking about paid advertising. It is investing. You don't want a machine just completely do that for you. So,
and also, like, baseline, who's programming the machine? It's not like a open source third party like us. It's Google. Google's number one outcome is increase profits and revenue every quarter. That is their KPI. That is their North Star. Their products and services are like, how do we get more people to use it and make their life easier or better to make more money? Got to remember that every technology that's advanced, rockets, planes, cancer equipment, there's still a human there. Even though a plane can take off and land without a human, and then most of the time when it's flying, the human is not steering it, there's still a human there, because people know deep down that no matter how perfect, like there's just a rule in life, like there's one guarantee in business: you'll never have perfection. So if you got that with business and people, how are you supposed to have that with technology, especially technology that's changing? New bugs come up, beta testing. It's like there's always got to be an issue, no matter how intelligent it is, because you've got to, someone has to know what excellence is in this moment for the client or the business or in life in general. I think it's just interesting that, once again, the Google products, there's so much data. Like, let's just say you've got a product like SKU of 10,000 products or 5,000 or 200. Like, that's 200, like, let's just say imaginary lines, but then every day is like a line. So if you've got 200 products over 100 days, that's what, 20,000 data bits. But then within that, there's so much data. So the biggest thing I've noticed with AI is the context window. And context windows, like the context is just lost. Like the technology is not there for like long enough time horizons with context, and also the depth of context as well. That's why so many things are missed. So once again, even if you're doing your own chat GPT and you're prompting it very aggressively, it will still have context issues. That's when you are kind of open source going after this, where you're kind of prompting it. With Google, you have no fuck. You're not prompting it. You're like, here's my goal. Here's this. I trust that you've got all this data. Like, they do have the data, but it doesn't mean the data's being pinged moment to moment every day. Kind of, they make it seem like, oh, based on every search we're doing. No, they're not. That's impossible. Like, they would be out of business. They would have to be paying 10 times what they're making in revenue per quarter to have the servers to keep up with that speed of insight. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of rant on that, because it's just, we need to use more critical thinking before we just go, these machines are so powerful because this person said it, this person said it, and like Google's case study said it. It's like, no, who's programming it? And even if they're programmed with the most open source, you can look at all the code and you see how it's done. Even if you've done that, what's the context window? How far can they look back? Like, most of these technologies do not have the in-depth ability to ping every data point, which is what we want and need and expect.
Yeah.